Hi, boys and girls. I am going to go ahead and start by saying we're going to start a new topic today. So, we're going to start chapter 10 in our book. So, if you ever want to do any references or anything, you can go to your chapter 10 in your book. We're going to be doing volume and surface area. So, I want to just quickly look at our Schoology page and just make sure that we understand everything that you're going to need for today. So on your Schoology page, if you click open, so when you first open it, it looks like this. When you click the remote learning, all of our weeks show up for April. I'm going to go ahead and click in the April 6th to the 10th week because that's this week. And then you'll notice that you have April 8th's agenda. That's where you should have already clicked because that's how you got to this video. But I also wanted you to notice that we have April 8th notes and April 8th notes with answers. So I put both the notes I put a blank copy of the notes that we're going to be doing today there in case you wanted to print it off and do it on paper. So you can take notes by printing that out and take notes on it. Or if you don't have a printer, which is not a big deal, you can take out a piece of paper and we're going to take notes. And so on that piece of paper, you can take notes of what we're doing and just kind of follow along. And you can refer back to your notes if you have any questions or go back to the video. So I also posted the April 8th notes with answers. If you would like, you can also go back to the notes that are filled in. So everything that I'm going to do on here is also in the notes with answers. And they will be published to you as soon as I publish this video. And then after the video and we go through this, you'll go to the April 8th check. On that check, it's about 5 questions, just kind of going over what I talk about in the video. So that is the expectations for today. So we're going to go ahead and start with the notes. So if you need to pause, and go get some paper and a pencil because we're going to take some notes right now. All right, so here we go. So today, I'm going to try and make this a little bigger, and I'm not quite sure how because I need to. There we go. So today we're going to be talking about Chapter 10, Lesson 1. So Chapter 10, Lesson 1 is about volume of rectangular prisms. Volume is the amount of space inside a 3D figure. So basically what you can fill up a 3D figure with. So if I have a box and I were to fill it up with water, the water would be called and considered the volume. Volume is measured in cubic units. So you'll see here, volume is measured in cubic units. And that's important because what we need to remember is that when I need to put a unit with my volume, it needs to be cubed, which means to the 3rd power. So it'll say, let's say the volume's 15. It'll say 15 inches cubed. And so it would be to the 3rd power up here, with a little tiny 3 as an exponent. So the formulas to find volume of a rectangular prism are volume equals length times width times height. Basically what you're doing is you're multiplying these 3 numbers times each other. And it actually doesn't matter which order we multiply them in because of the commutative property of multiplication. So because of the commutative property of multiplication, I can choose to do length, height, width, length, width, length, height, however we'd like to do it. Just know that you have to multiply those 3 dimensions times each other. So that's the volume of a rectangular prism. You'll also notice over here, there's a second formula. It says volume equals B times H. And you should notice that that B is capitalized. That is very important. So the B is capitalized because it is considered to be what's called the base, the area of the base. So if I'm looking here, it's not just one dimension, it's the entire base. Oh, There we go. Okay. It's the entire base of it times the height. And if you think about it, the base is a rectangle. To find the area of a rectangle, it's length times width. So if I'm doing length times width times height for the volume in the other one, then here I'm just doing length times width times height too. It's just that the area of the base, if you're given it, you can just multiply it times the height. Okay, so let's do an example. Let's see how it works out. And yes, you are allowed to use a calculator. We are at that point in the year, so I don't think you necessarily need one, but if you want to check your answers, you can. So with this, again, we're going to go ahead and start. It says, find the volume of the rectangular prism. Well, the rectangular prism, the volume is length times width times height. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it in. So you'll notice that I'm going to use 10, 5, and 2 as my length, width, height. So here, I filled it in. 10 times 5 times 2. You'll notice that there's dots in between them. Those dots are representing a multiplication sign. So it's the same thing as the times sign as an X, or as we talked about, putting parentheses around each of the numbers. Any one of those ways is showing multiplication. So I went ahead and I wrote 10 times 5 times 2. And if I did 10 times 5 times 2, I get 100. So my volume, like I said before, is the units cubed. So here you'll see it is 100 feet cubed. Cubed, it means that the exponent up top is to the third power. Okay. Alrighty, so let's go to the next one. So a reminder, I like to just kind of put that formula out there no matter what to remind ourselves what we're dealing with here. These are all rectangular prisms, so I'm going to remember that volume equals length times width times height. I'm putting it nice big bold at the top of my page so that I don't have to keep rewriting it. I could rewrite it every time, but I'm just choosing to put it at the very top. So for number 1, length, width, height, I went ahead and I did my length of 2, my width, or no, I did 4, 2, and 3. Again, it doesn't matter which one you choose to be length, which one you choose to be width, and which one you choose to be height. And the reason why is because if I were to turn the rectangular prism on its side, my dimensions are still all the same. And the shape is still a rectangular prism. I've just changed what location each of them are in. So here I did volume equals 4 times 2 times 3. So I've made 4 my length, 2 my width, and 3 my height. And when I go ahead, I type those in, I got 24 feet cubed. Number 2 is a special rectangular prism. It is a cube. I know it is a cube because all of my sides, all of the edges of the three-dimensional figure are all equal. And so here I am doing, well, now I gotta figure out where I put it. There it is. Volume equals 4 times 4 times 4, which gets me a volume of 64 inches cubed. All right. I keep going down here. Here we go. Number 3 is the same as the ones up top, and we're still just doing volume equals. And I keep forgetting where I put it. There we go. Volume equals 5 times 20 times 5. And that got me a volume of 500 yards cubed. Now you'll notice number 4 here is a little different. I'm going to move me so that I can do this with a little bit. So volume over here is a little different. I don't need to find the volume. They gave me the volume. So what they gave me the volume. See, there it is. They want me to find the missing height. So if I want to find the missing height, I need to use my formula. Geometry, my biggest thing with geometry is start with the formula. Let's see if I can find it. This whole hiding. Oh, see, I started with the formula. So I start with the formula, volume equals length times width times height. And then what I did is I simply just plugged in what I knew. Volume, they told me it's 84 meters cubed. Length, they told me it was 6. Width, they told me it's 4. Height is my, I don't know, my unknown. And so because it's my unknown, I leave it with the variable h. So the first step that's really important that we do here, the first step is that we actually do our multiplication on this one side. So I'm going to go to that one side. Oh, sorry, I'm backwards. I'm going to go to that side of the equal sign, and I'm going to multiply. So here we are going to multiply the 6 times 4 first. Once I do 6 times 4, I get 24. So now I have a problem that I've done before. These are my simple one-step equations. This is where it says 84 equals 24 times what? Well, if I have a missing dimension here or a missing piece to this equation, I solve it by undoing the problem. We do the inverse operation. We also call it doing the opposite. So I'm currently having a multiplication problem here. So to get rid of it, I'm going to use division. So I'm just going to get my marker out here, or my pen. And what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up dividing both sides by 24. So I'm dividing both sides by 24. And when I divide both sides by 24, this side is just left with an h. This side is left with my answer of 3.5. And so I get an answer of 3.5 equals h. That's actually not my answer because I haven't put my units with it. And so I want to make sure that I know that my units are meters because I'm talking about a single dimension. I'm not talking about the volume, I'm just talking about the height. And so it would be 3.5 meters. If you want to pause, rewind, see how we did that again, feel free. I'm going to do 2 more problems that are just like that. I'm going to go a little bit faster on them, but pause it, rewind, do whatever you need to see what you're doing. All right, so number 4 is, again, finding the missing length. So like always, I start with my formula. Volume equals length times width times height. I'm choosing this formula, 1, because I know we're talking about volume, but 2, because in the problem, they gave me the volume. Where'd my highlighter go? They gave me the volume. That's why I'm using that formula. So what I'm missing here is I'm missing the length. So I go ahead and fill it all in except for the length. I know it looks like a 1. It's actually an L. I couldn't change it. Sorry about that. That's why they do a cursive L. So I plug it all in. The first step I do is I multiply the 2 things that I know that I have. So I'm going to multiply these 2 numbers together, and I get 60 equals 10 times L. Now you'll notice I put the 10, I changed the 10 from this side and moved it to this side. And I simply did that because when I have a number and a letter, the number should come first. So the coefficient should come first and then the letter. So here I have 60 equals 10 times L. Hopefully you should be able to do this one mentally and figure out that my answer ends up being 6 equals H, or L. That should say L. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's a mistake. Let's go ahead. Let's fix that real quick. This should be L. My bad. If you didn't know how to figure out that it was 6, you could have simply divided 10 to both sides. And that would have gotten you 6. That one I would have understood you doing mental math. To get my answer, I have to put a label back in there, and so it would be 6 inches. All right. Number 5 doesn't give me a shape, but it gives me all of the information. So it tells me volume is 94.5, length is 7, height is 3. What's the width? So here I always start with my formula. Whenever I'm missing a piece, I start with the formula. If I'm just plugging in to get my volume or whatever it is, I can just plug into the formula. But I do always start with writing the formula so I know what I'm filling in. So I filled this in. Commutative property of multiplication allows me to multiply these two numbers together before doing anything else. It doesn't matter that one's on each side. I'm able to multiply them because it's all multiplication on that side. And so I can do it in any order I want. So I do. So I get 94.5 equals 21 times W. Then to solve that, because I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I don't know that off the top of my head. And so I need to know what I'm going to be actually doing mathematically. So because it's multiplication and I want to get rid of it, and I want to get W by itself, I am doing the inverse operation, which is dividing by 21 to both sides. And so I'm doing 94.5 divided by 21. When I do that, I get 4.5. And so my answer is 4.5 kilometers. All right, so this is volume. So just to recap, if I'm looking to find volume, I'm using this formula. Actually, I'm going to be using this formula the whole day, but I get to just plug in my length, width, and height. If I'm finding a missing side, I have to multiply my known pieces, and then I can use division to solve for the missing one. Okay. So right now, what I want you to do is go ahead, rewind, go back to any parts that you need to, take down some more notes if you need to. But now is the time when you are going to go back to your Schoology. You're going to go to that April 6th check. You're going to click into it, and then you are going to answer those questions and submit it. And that will let me know you watched this video, you did the problems, you're done for the day. So that's a wrap. We'll see you guys later. Have a good day.